Boom! I'm Hiko Simon. We are live. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight 2. Good to have you along. It's very good to have you here. Let me quickly go and get out the magazine topics, which are right there. This is the iPad interface. It went pretty well last week, so I thought we'd stick with it. And it's good to see all of you here. There's the stream buffering now, so that is the lag. Good to see you. It's been a long weekend, hence I'm a little bit less shaven than usual. I didn't shave on Friday, which was Culture Day in Japan. Lately it's been, I'm supposed to celebrate things Japanese culture, which is pretty much, I guess, everything. But lately it's been to focus on the Constitution and so on. We have a huge horse's ass visiting Japan at the moment. That's interesting. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about that. Yes, just landed today, which is taking up all of my Twitter feed and all of the news, which I don't really care too much about, but that's, I guess, something that will come up. And some stuff to talk about, some announcements and so on. But before I get into the announcements and whatnot, let's get into saying hello and seeing who's here. So let's have a look. We got Mr. Cordy Chip, 69. Getting a little risque. It's just a number. It's just a number. I keep trying to come up with new things, and I suppose you can go back to the traditional old things. Degens Konto, it's a long time no see, Degens Konto, and very good to have you along. And you are indeed, well, you probably were early, although you were only, oh, there's a timestamp, so that was 10:28. You're only 2 minutes early, so you should be back here now. So there we go. Look at the comments, they're popping in there. Who else we got here? So good to see you. Welcome back, Degens Konto. We got Lysander 45. Great. You're gonna go wash your tea kettle. That's very good of you, Pinfold. Go put the kettle on. So that does remind me of Pinfold. I don't know if you know Danger Mouse, but if you don't, you should watch it because it's pretty much raised. Pinfold was my hero growing up. Mr. Cordy Chip. Oh, we got Robert Old Dude. Boom, indeed, the boom is here. It came. I made it eventually, as usual. Who else is here? Hiko better be over by the time Mama Cherry is on, or else. What's Mama Cherry? It's and is it on? You watch TV? Seriously? Dude, like get Netflix. That's all that I've been watching lately. No time schedules. Just watch it on the crapper. I mean, seriously, who cares? Watch it on the train. But yes, I was a television. I was a TV addict child my whole life. I had the entire TV schedule completely memorized. Although it was easy in New Zealand because we only had 2 channels for a lot of the time. We had 3 actually when I was in high school, but when I was really into TV, it was only 2. So into Australia it was like 5. It was more exciting, harder to memorize, but good for the brain, apart from what was actually on the TV. But I digress. Sergeant Booker, boom, there we go. There's the explosion. Wow, I didn't know there was one of those bomb things, but there we go. Very good to see you. It looks like you got the boom starting 30 minutes later today. Give daylight saving there, is that it? It is same time it's been. It's 10:30 PM JST. But of course Japan doesn't have daylight saving time, so perhaps that's why. I don't know. Is it daylight saving in Sweden? Well, good to have you anyway, and I'm glad that you made it. Robert Old Dude. Hi Sergeant Booker, indeed. Saying hello to everybody. 49 star. I haven't seen you for a while, 49 star. Awesome music maker, 49 star. And good to have you along. Yeah, a long time no see, dude. And everyone go check out 49 Star's YouTube channel and music on SoundCloud because they make awesome stuff. Who else is here? Phil Nolan, pardon me, Phil Nolan, good to see you, Phil Nolan, welcome back. Peter, good to have you along here. Peter, is that a Peter that I know? I'm not sure I know, but good to have you, Peter. Hey, indeed. Who else we got here? We got finally watching live. We've been waiting all this time. You're finally here. I'm so glad. Good to have you along here, Peter. Chris Rodham, good to have you back. Nice to see some familiar and not so familiar usernames in the comments. They got Barringer back. Kombanana. That's a good one. That's a good one. You got me. Kombanana. I'm not going to use it. You can keep it, but it's a good one. There we go. Thank you for that. We got Barringer saying hello to everybody. Yes, sometimes I burp. I get too excited. I over inhale. That's how I compensate. Andrea Mowbray, good to have you along. And you shall not provide context for that message from Lysander 45. Now I'm scrolling up. The kettle is clean. Good work, Penfold. I guess that means you'll have to come on a dangerous adventure. So there we go. Tried on several occasions to be here for a stream, and now you made it. Well, we're glad that you made it. We're glad that you made it. I've been watching. It's been a busy week in terms of just like before. The thing is, I actually just realized I went to see what I actually tweeted this week and what I put in. I was away last week, like on an overseas trip. I was flat out crazy working this week trying to catch up. Plus it was a shorter week because we had the vacation on Friday, so it's actually been... SoundCloud is still a thing. I'm still posting music on there, so please, it's definitely still a thing, or at least think it's still a thing. It's just been, I haven't actually posted that much stuff this week, and I didn't have that many topics, so I guess I'm just going to be able to talk at length about the topics that I have, and and what you guys want me to talk about. I guess I'll try to pay more attention. I always mean to pay more attention to the comments, but tonight I really intend to do that. Indeed, Sergeant Bilker, when was it not a thing? That is correct. Doral Elliott. Good to have you along, Doral Elliott. I don't recognize the username. Good to have you along. Always nice to have someone there. Why on earth would that be held for review saying, "Hi, Mr. Cordychat"? These offensive highs and hellos. Who knows? Let's show the world, because we don't believe in censorship here, especially when you're saying hi to each other. That's crazy. Doral Elliott, where are you from? And in fact, Peter, where are you from? And I think there was another username up here that I didn't recognize. Was that it, Peter? So Peter and Doral Elliott, share with us where you are. It's always nice to know where you are. And yes, I'll get into starting to talk about the stuff tonight, because it's going to be about 30 seconds before it's like talking to someone on Mars. It takes about 30 seconds to get there. Mr. Cordychat, you're paranoid. You're paranoid. So yeah, I guess the two things I'm going to say in the beginning. First thing is the Big in Japan documentary movie release. There's going to be a big party for that in Tokyo on December the 3rd. I'm going to help out, it looks like, with the running of it. Victor's going to help out as well, but he's going to be unable to come to Tokyo. So the man who's got 10 times more subscribers than me, I realize that's the better plug than me, but I'm going to help out anyway. And I do have a trailer, a kind of a preview, a kind of a build-up thing for it. It's going to be a big event, and there's going to be a big party for it. And I think that's what I'm going to use. We're still going to do the aim for that as a substitute party. Substitute party is the party that we would have done in September, but we couldn't because both of us were away overseas. We'll try and do it in December. It'll be a good end-of-year party. I'd say Mr. Cordychat is the word definitely triggering these the censorship messages. There we go. We'll uncensor that. I don't know what's happening with that. So anyway, look out for some more information coming up. I meant to actually get a video out from Big in Japan yesterday. Ooh, you saw my hairy knees there for a moment. But yes, grand final parade day. It's already that time of year. Well, there you go. So there's going to be more information about that. Currently are you in Fukushima? Wow, okay, that's pretty cool. From England, good to know where you are there, Peter. And Ayleswitch, you're tuning in from Liverpool, UK. Well, that's cool. I don't know if I've mentioned I've got two stepbrothers from Liverpool. I don't understand a word that they say. They're really nice. I think they are. They could have been just like swearing at me and making fun of me the whole time. I've only met them a few times. My father remarried late. Lovely guys, but yes, lovely accent. So I don't know what they're saying, but it's cool. Good to know that someone from Liverpool's watching. I hope that I am understandable. But no, family ties. Anyway, my stepmother has a Liverpudlian accent, so there we go. Coming back, Big in Japan party, December 3rd. It's going to be big, and we're going to set it up as a YouTube party, so I've got to get my ass in to get it organised. We are trying to get a big movie theatre party venue set up for it, so there'll be more information on that coming out soon. Look on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. We're going to start putting the word out soon on another project that I've been working on that's actually been on hold since about August, and it was held up because I thought there was an issue with development that I actually went and got some advice on during this week on my app, which I was building, or I was getting help building, including from Rob and some other very excellent developers. And there's something I wanted to check whether it was all okay or not, and that kind of caused, between that and getting very busy with the work, I had to sort of stop for a couple of months. I met a guy, Oscar, from Creator Ninja. He makes a bunch of YouTube related apps. He got connected to him through some excellent people at YouTube, and got some advice, and basically I kind of got comfortable that okay, I should just charge for it and get this thing done, and it's all really set up to do. And that's right, Lysander 45, there ain't no party like a YouTube party, damn straight. So the app is going to go, well, damn it, that's it. I'm going to go spend a whole bunch of money. I'm going to get it done, and it's going to be really, really awesome. And you're all going to be invited to be beta testers of it, because I'm going to need to figure out my biggest challenge. Giving you some inside info on this. Hell, it's only the entire internet. Although that said, I know it's a very, very small part of the internet that watches it, but I value you guys very much. question is how do I get the money back that I put into this, because I really want to make this, and I'll get honestly I'll get satisfaction just from making it. But it is part of the part of the project to figure out how I monetize it. What do I do for it? And it's going to be partly the building costs and partly the keeping it live costs. Because unfortunately I am accountable for how I spend money. But that said, screw it. I'm going to build the beta. Well, I've got a prototype already. It's working. It is awesome. I'm going to put it into a presentable looking beta. The prototype is just to prove that it works. It works. It's awesome, and I use it all the time. I'm going to make a beta, and when I make the beta, I'm going to send out invites. It's going to be for watching YouTube videos. It's going to be for keeping up, basically. Oh, check it out, Tai Nakamura in the house. They're watching from London. It's Doral Elliott. Good to have you watching from London. It's going to be a way to basically, I subscribe to over 1,000 channels, and I basically cannot keep up with all of my subscriptions. I'm just overwhelmed by them, and as a result, I watch nothing. I find it really hard to keep up. Yeah, Tai Nakamura, Patreon is actually one of the ideas that came up the other night. No, I don't like the idea of Patreon, because people who use Patreon use it for different reasons than I want to use it for, but I was actually told I wanted to go a different route with it, and some people came and they said it would work for this. So I don't know. What I'll do is I'm going to get it out. I'm going to let all you beautiful people use it, and I'm really going to ask for your guys' sincere thoughts on what you think the best way to tackle monetizing it is when I do it. Because it's not, I don't want to make a business out of this. Honestly, this is just fixing a problem that I have that I want to fix, which is I want to make it really cool and easy to watch all my videos, and I don't want to watch what the algorithm tells me to watch. I just want to watch what I want to watch, but I don't want to come back to the screen and have to click and control everything. I want to be able to walk around the room dancing naked like I always do when I'm watching my videos and not have to click. It's a simple problem, and I found a way to fix it, and it's fixed, and it's you'll see very soon anyway. So help me figure that one out when it's come up. And I know, yeah, you can use Patreon for whatever reason, and yeah, maybe that's how we do it. Suck people into the business and then demand payment, or you'll see that's a good idea, Mr. Quiddy I like that one. You're getting like censored tonight. Wow, that's crazy. Seriously, that's not me. Well, it is me, but it's not me. I didn't do anything. Seriously, I think. But look, first thing is, so I don't want to be too obnoxious with it, but I do want to make this thing, and I do want to do it right. So, point is, I'll share it. You'll see it soon. It's awesome. Probably, the thing is actually it's working. So it's just getting the accounts, getting a nice skin on it, so it looks really cool. It's got to get this done within the year anyway. It would have been done by now if I hadn't just stopped, because there was just this issue with the development that I wanted to make sure I was totally safe with. That's weird. I don't know what's happening with you. So anyway, heads up on those two things, the Big in Japan party. Oh, and by the way, I gotta say, Creator Ninja. In fact, you know what? I think I've probably got his app on here, because this automatically downloads the apps later. So check this out. Creator Ninja is the name of the guy who came in. He is the founder of this company who helped me out. So do I want to show this? Hello? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so it's basically this app which shows if you have a YouTube channel and you're like a creator. The idea, this is not aimed at the hikakins or whatever. This is actually aimed at like people, maybe not so much me, maybe up to like 10,000 users who are interested in seeing their channel grow and how they're comparing. So basically for people with less than 10,000 subscribers who are interested in having mobility for creating thumbnails and so. This isn't my app, by the way. This is the app of the guy who was helping me out, but he's done a lot of apps like this, and he's a cool guy. He's a good guy to get advice from, actually. So many thanks to Dave. Shout out to Dave for the introduction. First of all, it's got this kind of, it's this whole gamification. You get a whole bunch of, it's like the old days of YouTube when you used to get a ranking for everything, and you'd be aware of all the channels that were around you and whether you're going up or down in comparison to the other channels around you, and how you're doing, and unlocking achievements and so on based on the growth of your channel. This is just a really simple app to just basically, it takes the information of how your channel is doing and kind of gamifies it. And he's done a bunch of apps like this. There's a really cool video thumb maker tool in there as well, which I was just playing around with, which you can actually upload from mobile onto the videos on your YouTube channel, which works out really well. And yeah, anyway, so Creator Ninja is the name of the app, and he's made a bunch of apps actually, and he gave me a lot of advice about the development process with YouTube and so on, and including feedback on how I should go about developing this. And he told me, just get the damn thing done, don't worry about the details too much. Just get the MVP out there, and it's working, it's moving. So yeah, I'm just going to do that now. So thanks to him, you're going to see this very soon, and I'm going to totally shout back the favor. This is a guy who's building a lot of really cool apps to help out creators, as particularly grow up and coming creators. There's no point going for the over 10,000 crowd, because a lot of them, they're signed up with MCNs, they're already too big, they're already doing their own sort of stuff, and he's interested in helping sort of the long tail. He's aiming for that with his apps, and these are really, really cool. So go and check him out and support him anyways. He helped me out a bunch. And that's all the pre-announcements. Tai Nakamura, you finally got the Chaos Audio app to make music. By the way, what Tai just did there, where he said my name with like the at mark on the front, that grabs my attention. That's orange and flashing and stuff. So I will always see that comment. And if you actually address a comment to me with that, I'll make a promise to try. I guess I can't 100% promise, but I'm pretty good, I think, at catching comments that actually mention me. And that's the only, woohoo, Simon. I'll try to respond if there's something to respond to. If you want to grab my attention, that's a pretty good way to do it. So good on you, Tai Nakamura. And now that you have Chaos Audio, well, I've kind of gotten into some patterns with how I use it. I am going to use it at the end of the show tonight. I've got a couple. I had a track. I meant to set up a track tonight, but I didn't really have enough time with it. I didn't like it, and I started remaking it. But yeah. Who else is in the room that I didn't notice joining just while I was going off on my thing there? We have the Evil Censor, we have Tai Nakamura. I think that's it. I think we're all up to date, present and accounted for. So if not, let's get into the topics. And you remember, that's right, I did notice you. Thank you. That's my name. Don't wear it out. There we go. Kevin is a busy guy. Are we talking about Kevin Cooney, or are we talking about Busan Kevin, or are we talking about another Kevin? Who knows? Oh, this is Busan Kevin. Ask a question. Have I been following Busan Kevin since he moved to Beijing? Not really. No, I haven't. Well, this is my problem. I can't keep up with all my subscriptions. I have over 1,000 subscriptions. My new tool is going to help me do that, but I have not. So yeah, but it is interesting if he's doing that. I think he went to China, right? And given that he started out in Korea, then he was in Japan, it was always interesting hearing him compare those two examples, or those two experiences. Now going off to Beijing, yeah, that is really interesting. I would love to hear the comparison of that, but I haven't really been keeping it up. I've just been lucky to sort of catch a couple of things. Lysander 45, who I think is also in China, correct? That's right. He's really nice international school. We got the tour, so it's good to see that he's doing well. But lifestyle in Beijing is obviously going to be very different to being in Tokyo. So stuff. Let's talk about stuff. Lately, on all my commutes and so on, and because I was traveling a lot, I would save. I've got an iPad which I like to watch on. It's got a beautiful screen and everything, which is what you're looking at right now. But I also quite like to download onto the SD card on my Fire tablet. It's just really cheap, but it's really good for watching videos. I've just been downloading like a bunch of stuff from Netflix onto my Fire tablet. And I've been watching them on airplanes. And one thing that I watched the entire series of. I think you like saying die and suck and all this sort of stuff too much, Mr. Cordychip. I'm sorry about that. So I watched the whole season of Stranger Things 2. I'm not going to give any spoilers for it, other than I'll repeat my review that I gave on Twitter, which is it's cool. It's like they took the Goonies and they took E.T. and they took all of those sort of early 1980s themed children-centric sort of movies that I grew up with when I was the age of these kids. I mean, I was 1984. I was 9 years old. I was probably a little bit younger than these characters are in this movie, and in the series. So very nostalgic. I feel a little bit guilty because I remember when I was in the 80s and we had to watch like the Wonder Years. We had to watch like a TV series set in the 60s for our parents to be nostalgic, and I was like, why are we watching old crap from before when I was born? And I feel like we're doing now that I'm in my 40s, like all the people from my generation are doing that to the millennials. I'm grateful people find this interesting because I do love it. It is nostalgic. It does take me back. But I think, is it okay? I mean, it's very cool for me. I thought the first season was more heavy on nostalgia. I wasn't so into the story, to tell you the truth. I love the characters. I saw a lot of potential there, but it wasn't a Goonies for me. It wasn't a, it wasn't the upside down thing. I didn't really get that well. That said, although they stuck with the same theme in the second series, and I kind of thought, is this going to be more of the same, kind of good nostalgia, not so great story? The story is a lot better. It builds up a lot better in the second season, if you ask me. I found the second season extremely enjoyable, and I highly recommend it. I think it's I finished the whole thing just with one wish, and that is that they not make any more seasons. They set it up so clearly they could make another one, and it's America, so if it's making money, I guess they'll make another season. But here's my request: don't make another one. Not because leave it good. You know, don't make it Friends. Don't make it so that all the characters end up in their 30s and hooking up with one another. And you know, don't do that. Just leave it as a good thing. Andrea Mulberry, you're watching Mindhunter on Netflix. Good series. I've actually got that on my to-watch list, so thank you for the recommendation. That will lend it in there. Down the bottom, from 49 Star, there's a pretty irrelevant question, but do I happen to watch the comedy show Gaki no Tsukai? It's brilliant. I've watched Gaki no Tsukai since, geez, that show's like 20 years old now. I can't believe that's still on. This is London Boots, right? No, that's Downtown. I'm sorry. Shite, they've been around since like the 90s. Hell, I think they might have even been around in the late 80s. I learned Japanese watching that. It's funny, it's good. Don't copy the Japanese from it. I got into a lot of trouble copying the Japanese from that show when I got here, partly because it's Osaka accent and partly because it's dirty shit. It's funny. Some of my favorite Japanese skits. The first comedy things I ever laughed at, the first time I felt an emotional connection to Japanese TV, were from Downtown, from Gaki no Tsukai. It is brilliant. They are considered some of the smartest comedians in Japan, and yeah, it's awesome. Coming back to Stranger Things, I really like it. Good question, what happened to the turtle? Who knows, that could be season 3. But leave it. Star Trek, somebody's asking about Star Trek Discovery. I've been watching it. I really didn't like the first 4 episodes. Kind of like the time loop episode at 6. That was getting a little bit more traditional Star Trek, kind of like having an interesting idea and making an episode out of it. I wouldn't mind if they keep on that direction. I'm kind of meh. I'm not really a Trekkie to begin with. If they've got good stories and themes, I'm into it. So I watched Discovery. It was okay, but yes, the Goonies was a good movie. I mean, that's true. I'm not a nostalgic guy. The Goonies is objectively a timelessly excellent movie. I mean, and you know, this is the problem for me. Stranger Things looks like the Goonies. In fact, actually, one of the main character from the Goonies is a key character in Stranger Things 2, which is I love small things like that. But maybe that's what caused me to expect too much from it. But there we go. The Orville. I can't watch the Orville here in Japan. It sucks. I could get a VPN. I know that there's ways to do it, but I don't want to try that hard. I just want it to be available on Amazon Video, Hulu, or Netflix, and it's not. So I've heard good things about the Orville. But anyway, that's the first one. Lawson convenience stores. They are looking for next generation convenience stores, and I think this is NHK. They got a picture of a robot in it. I'm not sure that robots are the way to go. I've used next generation convenience stores in other countries, and you know, ones without, for example, you know, people behind the counter and so on. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I know that Lawson is really investing a lot in taking, for example, the cameras and stuff that they have, and what's that? There's a news warning there at the moment. What's happening on that? Is that a weather thing? Oh, there's an eruption warning for a volcano at level 3. Well, that's interesting. I did not know about that. There's a funka. What? So there's a Shinzen-take. I can't read that very well, but there's a volcano warning there on NHK News. But in any case, it looks like Lawson's going to get into doing these next generation sort of warnings. Just curious about this. In fact, I'll probably back out of here, but it looks like there is a high volcanic alert warning. I believe that is in Kagoshima. But anyway, it's pretty. It is interesting. We're getting into an age where there are not enough people to do all the deliveries in Japan, and you know, online shopping is very big, so deliveries are very big. And there's this question: what's going to happen to the delivery market? One thing that they're doing is that they're using the convenience stores a lot, because convenience stores are just everywhere and they can be used for anything. I actually get most of my online shopping now delivered to my nearest convenience store. It saves the delivery companies needing to redeliver the stuff, which actually causes a lot of the overwork that happens for those companies. Japanese delivery services I've never heard of any country with better delivery service that Japan has, but of course it's also backbreaking stuff to provide the level of service that they're used to. So I think you're going to see, I mean, the convenience of Japanese convenience stores, the awesomeness of Japanese convenience stores, including Lawson there. I think one of the things that make Japan just totally awesome. Almost 1 a.m. there. Oh, Andrew Moboya, of course. Well, have a good night there, and thank you for joining. They're one of the things that make Japan awesome, but trying to figure out how, with a shortage of people, and how to keep these things 24 hours and so on, is a big challenge. So it'll be really interesting to see what Lawson comes up with for that. Tokyo Texan has a comic about the timing of the delivery guys. I should check that. Texan in Tokyo. I'm sure that's what you mean, but yes. I haven't seen her around for a while as well, since she dropped out of YouTube. I hope she is keeping well. I loved her comics. Original Terminator was 80s though, it was indeed, and it was pretty good. I mean, some people, Terminator 2 is clearly a better movie. It was clearly an upgrade on Terminator, but the idea of Terminator was pretty good and pretty well executed given the time. Little article here, a little bit of politics. In fact, I should mention, Maihara, the head of the Democrats, was fired and then left the party for a party that seems to have a strategy of just everybody committing suicide whenever there's an election. He really outdid. They outdid themselves in this last election. The leader of the party quit the party, told everyone to run independent, which I actually even thought was a good idea for a time. Ellsworth, good point. Blade Runner, indeed. It's kind of been just a complete disaster, and maybe it's because the opposition's been such a complete disaster, and it's not like we've just had LDP all our lives, like some of the older people are still used to thinking post-war. Opposition's gotten in government in the 90s and in the 2010s, and both times it was kind of a disaster. They kind of imploded on themselves. And the not surprising result of that, perhaps, this page is not loading. So I will go back. I might be connected to the wrong internet one. Let me just quickly disconnect this and reconnect. This might cause technical problems, but don't worry, the show doesn't have technical problems, so we should be okay. And look at that, it's connected to the wrong Wi-Fi. Not the neighbors, the one in the other room, but it's a long way away, and that's why the internet is crap at the moment, because I have awesome internet. So this ought to fix things. Boom. You'll see that reappear in a minute, and we can come back over here. It's just an interesting stat. Young Japanese in their teens, 18, 19-year-olds, and in their 20s are overwhelmingly more conservative than other age groups in Japan. And it's probably just they're used to seeing the opposition just screw up. But yeah. Texan and Tokyo had babies, so they stopped making vids. Oh, okay, yeah. I miss them, but I'm sure they'll be back. I do respect the fact that they don't want to make videos, or certainly around the babies or whatever. Everyone's entitled to the different approaches on that. I know some people do like to make videos with their babies and so on. I mean, Victor has no hesitation with that. That is all fine, but it's not what I would do. So there you go, 46% of people in their teens and 47% of 20-year-olds support the LDP. I guess they're just tired of seeing parties which are increasingly elderly. The Democrats, the Social Democrats, the Communists, they're just free, or Ishinokai, who are just freaks, or elderly sort of burned out leftists. I had hopes for that the Democrats could become something. There was a time when they got elected that they were pretty good. They held out some sort of hope, and I was very disappointed by them. But now they seem to just be finding new and innovative and entertaining ways to sabotage themselves. It's almost like they're getting paid to do it on purpose. Yeah, it's maybe not surprising that young people are becoming extremely conservative in Japan. And it's to me, it's not that there's anything wrong with those young people. It's that the opposition parties are failing them. I mean, that's what they need to reflect on. Doyle Elliott, a global warming or pandemic will kill us all. That's very cheerful. Probably, but what can you do? I feel like I must have missed some context leading up to that, but it's a good message. Global warming, climate change, be careful, don't call it, it's not necessarily always warming, but yes, climate change, human-triggered climate change, is going to screw everything up, and now our strategy by, what annoys me about this whole Australia and America telling us that, don't worry about it, we're going to focus on short-sighted policies to benefit the economy now and not benefit China by, cutting back on fossil fuels. is there's no custodianship, there's no concept of trying to make the world better for your kids to pass on to. There are problems now which we can fix, and they're choosing, it's basically a reflection, not just American, by the way, I think it's worldwide, but particularly developed countries worldwide, of just a very, very selfish generation of people, which I'm on the tail end of, but it's really the baby boomers. They're basically, they're just a generation that have just, you know, that were so enlightened in the 60s, became, you know, so the opposite in the 80s, and now they're going into retirement, they're angry, they're elderly, they're voting right wing, and they're voting to screw their grandkids everywhere. You know, it's like, and yeah, we're not going to, I get the feeling because of that, because of the lack of political will to address things like climate change, we're not going to be able to fix it, do anything meaningful about it for another 30 years probably. By which case, at which time we'll be really in the midst of all the problems, which makes your statement correct. But I don't know, there's still things I think we can do without requiring government and leadership and democracy to, you know, to drive. I think there's a lot of young people recognize that these are issues that we need to fix, and they're figuring out good ways to make businesses out of it. And this is why I will continue to support these tech companies that want to foster solutions to these things. Pandemics, yeah, well, too many antibiotics, all of that stuff. But there we go, see, you say my name, I will rant on. I could go on for an hour like this, but I'm just going to stop there. But see, you'll get a reaction out of me, so please put my name there in orange, tweet, message at me, and you'll see. Scrap healthcare, they'll go sooner. Well, that's the thing, they're completely selfish. They're not going to scrap their pensions, their healthcare. They're going to bankrupt the rest of us, give us all disease and drown us. But they're going to get their pensions, so, you know, what can you do? Don't I think with that, because of technology making the world smaller, the baby boomers were the last generation to look at things in such a non-global way? I don't know. Well, I mean, I think they do look at the world kind of in a global way now, but yeah, well, to their credit, I feel like I was in the last generation that grew up where people received information the same ways, through government-controlled education, through government-controlled television. We'd all watch the same radio, the same TV shows. We had choices, but not really many choices. News was pretty much run by government stations, and people could pretty much have debates, but it was always based on the same information, which meant that people could see things from the other side a little bit. Things could still be moderate, or, you know, in a way, we didn't have access to as much information as we had back then, but at least you could say that, you could argue, as people sometimes did, that all information was being controlled and not to trust them and all that sort of stuff. But at least there was some ability to feel a greater sense of community through the information that we were given. You know, I mean, even if it wasn't always accurate or whatever, and even if it was self-serving in a lot of cases. Now we have this huge chaos, this anarchy of information around, and you can just pick and choose whatever information you want, and everyone's just living in these sound cones, you know, these cones of silence for all this sort of information, which I don't know, it's sort of, it's good, it's liberating in a way that people can find out more and they can learn more. There's just infinite information, but at the same time, you know, you're going to have a generation of people that, in spite of in some ways being more global, they're also going to be less connected to other people. You know, you always used to share all these things in common when you all watch the same TV shows at night, when you watch the same news. And the baby boomers were the last to have that, and they're the ones fighting against the trends that are driving it away from that. But I agree that those trends are unavoidable, and some people have taken full advantage. I mean, the current leadership in the US has figured out how to fully leverage, you know, the new information age. But yeah, I think in a way, I'm envious in a way. They you know, they were in a way you could argue that the world was more unified in a way. It wasn't really truly unified. It was that people felt unified through the information that they were given, but they probably felt a greater sense of being all together because they all received the same information, you know, 40 years ago than they do now. It's ironic. We actually have far better ability to interact with each other and to reach out to each other and to access information now, but there's so much information that people connect less. I mean, people don't even, you know, people can live in an apartment next to each other and watch entirely different news, have entirely different sort of education and so on, and completely, you know, not be able to understand what the person living next door to them thinks. So it's weird, isn't it? It's a weird time, and we're still figuring out how to deal with it. But I think that's, you know, so I think there is goodness and greatness, and I think some of the great things that generation achieved were the result of all having these sort of common goals. And I don't know how you get back to anything like that, or how you realize that again. You always hope it's by enlightenment that people realize that these are problems that we should all work towards, but people are just basically not that good. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? It's disappointing. But yes, so there you go. Put it in orange and I will respond to it, and if not, I will keep carrying on here. The old story here is Japan is liberalizing immigration. What it is liberalizing immigration. It is always getting easier to come here. Article here talking about how landlords continue to make it really, really difficult for foreigners looking for apartments. Myself included. I've lived here 20 years. I'm middle-aged, white privileged, and believe me, in Japan, yes, that I'm a minority in Japan, but white people get it good everywhere. It is like the what's his face? The C.K. Lewis C.K. skit on being white. It's great to be white everywhere, and yet even in Japan, where every door gets open, oh please come here and join my party or do whatever, not apartments. They don't want foreigners. Better than it used to be, maybe a little bit. I always say it was better in the old days when they would just put no foreigners on the piece of paper, because it was more difficult to do that. In a way, now they can be sneakier about it because they won't put it on the paper. You have to call them up and they'll say verbally no foreigners. It's much easier to do that through a proxy and in a non-public way than it was before. I feel like in some ways it's gotten worse, and again, you always hope that with more and more productive white people here, productive white people, productive international people. Geez, white people are like 0.05% of the foreigners here. That was a slip of the tongue, which I did not mean to make. The vast majority of foreigners: Chinese, Koreans, Brazilians, Iranians, Filipinos, Vietnamese. Lately, you don't get to people that look like me. We are like 25,000 out of 2 million foreigners. So yeah, anyone, but whether it's not third world discrimination or first world discrimination, it's just blind just rejection of, and the main reasons that they give foreigners will make trouble by making too much noise. They wear their shoes inside, they don't separate their garbage, which indeed some do, and you let down the whole team when you act like a dick like that. But at the same time, it's no justification for collectively punishing all foreigners who know and follow the rules. And it's not like Japanese don't break those rules themselves sometimes as well. Japanese can be dicks with separating their garbage just as much as foreigners. But if they see unseparated garbage, then they know that there's a foreigner in the building. That foreigner's going to get blamed for it. And this is the stuff that happens that results in it being very difficult to rent. And rent discrimination is a big issue for living in Japan. So there you go. Still is an issue for me even now. I hate moving house because of it. That said, I've still moved house 7-8 times since I've come to Japan. It hasn't stopped me, but it is a pain. And it probably wasn't Freudian. Well, I think I was so focused at the moment looking at myself and talking about my own experience that I said white, didn't I? Which is definitely inaccurate, incorrect, and I should not have said it. But that's it. I mean, geez, the point is that it's probably, in a way, it's a good thing, because it's the one area where white people talk about how, oh, we're in Japan, now we know what it feels like to be black. No, we do not. But the one place where we kind of feel discrimination equally with other people is probably in looking for rent. And this is the thing. Sometimes the real estate agents will say, no, he's white. It's okay. He speaks Japanese, which is even more awkward. But I've never seen that work. I've never seen a landlord change their mind hearing that the person heard that I was Caucasian. And believe me, we feel that one thing and we think we understand. No, we get positive, the opposite of that sort of discrimination the rest of the time. When the Chinese, the Koreans, the Brazilians, the Vietnamese, they get it the rest of the time as well. So yeah, so that's it. Japan is progressing, but it's always in baby steps, and right now it's definitely a thing you can say is that it's probably easier getting a work visa for Japan than it is finding an apartment, which sucks, and yeah, hopefully will change. What else we got here? GarageBand. Check this out, Tai Nakamura. The GarageBand has been upgraded. I haven't checked it out myself yet, but apparently they've got more plugins, more screens, and so on, and I have to check this out more thoroughly. But there we go. It expands its music making palette. I wish I was deeper on GarageBand. It's a great music making app, but I should actually ask for Folkhart to give. He's a real guru on using this app. You can actually make really, really high quality music with this. Chaos Solid is a toy by comparison, but it's really easy to use, and that's why I try to use that. So yeah, anyway, check that out. Our law to protect foreign trainees has gone into effect. So two things have happened with the new law. So you've heard about this law, the foreign trainee law. the problem with the law is that there was this law which was basically for foreign apprenticeships who want to come to Japan and learn a skill, learn a trade, learn a technology. Would come, they get to work in a factory, learning from Japanese artisans how to become a Japanese artisan of some sort, or go into a farm and learn advanced Japanese agricultural techniques, to be paid while working in Japan and then return to your home country to spread this technology and skills and work skills, or to get a job under a regular work visa in Japan. A win-win situation. It benefits, it allows workers to come to Japan in order to work, who would want to come to work, for technology transfer, plus it allows industries that are short-handed, they can't find enough employees, and are often, for example, farming. The average age of farmers in Japan is now over 80 years old, so they're short of hands and they need people to help them out. So it's a win-win situation. Great idea for a scheme. The problem is that frequently this has been used as a sweatshop and slave labor scheme, where foreign trainees have been used basically as they've been paid below minimum wage, they've had their passports taken away, they've been locked up, literally treated like, human trafficked, slave labor. Cases where the trainees, in the course of being abused, turned around and murdered the people who were employing them. They ran away. The Ministry of Immigration cited the running away problem as being the big problem with the trainees, but often they were running away, it turns out, from abuse, and they were in hiding in shelters because of the sort of abuse that they were sort of suffering, and the basically not being paid, not being fed, all sorts of horrible stuff, and the government really didn't do anything to fix it. And this has been going on for a long time, and it's caused a lot of damage to Japan's international image, that they've allowed the system to go on pretty much unpoliced. The only problem that they seem to be seeing is when the slaves run away. And it's been a system that's been widely abused and has a terrible international reputation that's really harmed Japan. The result of this is that finally, after, the system's been around for like 10 years now, they finally got around to creating a law, amending the law to give themselves extra rights to protect these workers, actual benefits for the workers. So there's really two elements for this. One is that you can, it's expanded the scope to allow medical and healthcare workers to be able to come here as trainees, so they can have their human rights abused as well. But also now they've put in basically punishments, which I don't know, I thought you would have always had punishments for abusing the human rights of people before, but excessive hours, unpaid work, human rights abuses, all this sort of stuff. Now there's punishments. There's going to be pre-approvals for people need to have a scheme which they have to submit to approve before they can be certified to receive and accept these foreign trainees. And they're more accountable. They can be deregistered and punished if they do anything around with that. Fruity Loops, there we go, 49 star. Fruity Loops is also another app which I'm not very deep on, but I know is an excellent tool. But yeah, so supposedly more protections now. I think that the government really needs to take some of these people who abuse their workers, excessive hours, taking their passports away, not paying them, not feeding them. They need to put these people in jail for kidnapping and for running sweatshops. I mean, that's what they need to do. Saying that they'll decertify them from the program, I'm not sure goes far enough given what's happening. They don't need new laws to enforce what's going on. But if Japan wants to address these areas where they have massive labor shortages in their economy, that's what they've got to do. But that's it. Baby steps, right? It's an improvement anyway. I'm not sure I would encourage anyone to come on these schemes unless they had it really well sussed out what they were coming to, particularly something like working on a farm. You can work on a farm in New Zealand. They have fantastic working holiday farm stays in New Zealand that I'd strongly recommend, and that's really what this should be like, but unfortunately it's not. SoftBank. So SoftBank, the second biggest mobile phone company in Japan, was second or third, one of the big three anyway. And they also, Masayoshi Son, the owner of SoftBank, the founder of SoftBank, the man who got all the patents from all the digital calculators that made him a really rich man, he owns like 49% of Alibaba, which is, I think, the biggest shopping site in the world. I think it's bigger than Amazon now, just based on being purely in China, but they're expanding all over Asia at the moment. And they are looking at setting up an Uber-type service in Japan. Uber's not really taken off because cabs are really, really regulated in Japan, the numbers and so on. It's a hard market to break into. I'm not sure if it even operates here, actually. But with an institutional backer like SoftBank backing the idea of a ride sharing, would be really, really interesting to see what happens here. And again, this is another case of Masayoshi Son, Korean Japanese, backing the support of basically joint ventures between Chinese and Japanese technology companies in Japan. So here's the thing, a Chinese company just trying to come into Japan and bring Uber into Japan would probably have trouble getting trust from the market, but with someone like SoftBank, or a brand like SoftBank behind it, they've got a pretty decent chance. So that is very interesting. Once again, I should have actually swatted up better on this, on how to do the ratio, but it's basically the number of openings to applicants ratio hit a record 1.02, i.e. in a normal situation the job market will have like 100 jobs and 10,000 people looking, so there'll be like, you know, for example, 100 people competing for every job. In Japan, the number of open job offerings is 1.02 to the number of people looking. This is why they have trouble filling jobs, and you know, yes, there are still homeless people. Yes, it's not a perfect, you know, it's not a perfect country. It's not, we haven't reached nirvana where everybody has a job. Point is that, you know, some people who are not working, they're turning down jobs that don't look like they'll be good places to work at, and as a result there's a lot of job openings that are just getting no applications, and the popular jobs are still getting subscribed. So it's not an equal distribution, it's a competitive job market. But this is a problem, you know, Japanese companies are not paying people anymore, so you know, they have jobs that they can't attract people with, which market economics says that they should pay more, but they can't for all sorts of various reasons. Like, you know, they'll piss off the older people in those companies or whatever. They're very sensitive about pay structures in Japanese companies, so a lot of these companies are going to die just because they can't adapt to this. But you know, so it's not perfect. There is unemployment, there are homeless people in Japan, but the number of open jobs being advertised to applicants applying for them is 1 job to 1.02 applicants. In fact, yeah, openings to applicants, a ridiculous percentage, right? I mean, it's almost 1 to 1. Yeah, it's interesting times in Japan, and it's kind of surprising. I mean, this is what happens when you have, you know, when you have it, when in a way, well, I suppose it's from the declining population, but you know, it's also been a very successful economy at managing that, at making sure there's sort of as close to full employment as you can have in a non-socialist country. Article there on Japan Inc. is embracing more foreigners, which it is. They keep liberalizing immigration laws, including on that trainee system where you can now stay here for up to 5 years on that. You can become a permanent resident now. It used to be 10 years and it was 5 years. Now they're bringing it down to 3 years that you can become a permanent resident. Ahmed Usul, good to see you, my friend. And yes, indeed, automation. My friends, automation. Well, that's right. Well, and automation is going to do basically what machines did in factories for people. They're going to let people be more productive. I mean, you know, there'll be an adapting phase when there's going to be massive unemployment, but you have to realize in a country where there's 1 job for every, you know, for every 1 person looking, Japan, actually automation is going to be a solution to underemployment in Japan. It's going to be a disaster in a lot of other countries where there's going to be massive unemployment until they figure out what to do with all these people who have now more tools to become more productive. But yeah, automation is going to be a big deal, and all of these jobs, like convenience store jobs that they're having trouble filling, are going to be solved by these next generation Lawsons and so on that I was talking about earlier. So you hit it right on the head there, Ahmed, and you know, it's scary, but it's not avoidable. It's basically it is like the agricultural revolution. It's, you know, it's like using systematic farming as opposed to random farming before the industrial revolution, from handicrafts to machines. And yeah, automation is going to be the next phase of that, and we're going to see it's going to, well, license to 45 creates more jobs than it takes away. It's never that simple. Ultimately, you know, the jobs that are going to be replaced by automation are going to disappear, and new jobs, and it's not just a pure one-to-one thing. There are going to be whole new economies that are going to spring out around automation, new possibilities unleashed. So ultimately, yeah, the economy is going to leverage automation all over the place, but it's a question of how well and how intelligently we do that. That's, you know, it's not one-to-one. There's going to be places and times and areas which are going to suffer through this. But it's going to be really interesting to be in Japan when this happens. And I have made the argument to a few of my friends, and I think depopulation, while being a massive, you know, economic challenge to Japan, could actually be an advantage for coping with the disruption that's going to be caused by automation. And it's going to happen anyway, so you might as well embrace it and get ahead of it and do it, you know, the best way possible, if you ask me. And Phil Nolan, self-checkout at the supermarket, is a bit like self-checkout at the supermarket. And all these people saying that self-checkout at the supermarket is going to cause massive unemployment from supermarkets. No, supermarkets employ just as many people. It's just that those people are out there making sure that the shelves are stocked, that the stuff is coming in. They're just not out in front. But yes, anyway. World's largest telescope. The reason I'm into this stuff is I made a telescope when I was 15 years old, 14 years old. I ground a mirror. It took me 6 months. I ground a parabolic mirror, 6-inch, 15 centimeter mirror. Very, very hard to do. And, it gave me a really good appreciation of how the optics of telescopes work. Essentially, they're buckets. I always think of a telescope. There are two types of telescopes, of course. There's a lens-based telescope, which bends light and concentrates it through a lens. And there are reflective telescopes. So a lens is a refractor telescope, a mirror is a reflector telescope. It's really hard to make stable lenses that are really, really bigger than 50 centimeters or whatever. It's really hard to make the glass pure enough to get a good image from that. So if you want a really big telescope, the best approach is to use mirrors. And I learned how to grind a mirror, different sands, water, spray on a table. I spent weeks grinding this mirror, and it was pretty cool getting an appreciation of that. It's all about the photons, right? It's all about these little subatomic particles that make up light, collecting them and concentrating them in a way that makes them easy to see in an enhanced way, i.e. it all comes down into the bucket, and then you concentrate it at a focal point based on the parabola of the mirror, and then you observe at that focused place, a bit like you do with the sun when you're setting, when you're burning wood or whatever. So very simple principles, and this works the same way. It's got like 7. How big are the mirrors? It's like crazy stuff. Each mirror here. So you can see it's not one big mirror. They took basically, but there are limits that you get with the materials that they make. But each mirror here is like 17-ton telescope mirror. I mean, each one of these is like 7 meters or something like that, and they put 7 of these together. It's going to be crazy when we can put these in space and on the far side of the moon and stuff like that. But this is going to actually be able to see from the Earth better than Hubble. It's going to be online in 2023, and it's going to be freaking awesome. But what's interesting to me about this article and about this sort of technology is what this does is just in a very manual way. It just uses a parabola to focus the lights of to focus all the photons that are coming into a bucket together. You're not enhancing the photons, you're not increasing the number of photons, you're just collecting all the photons in a given area, and you're just concentrating them in a way that makes it easier to analyze at a focal point. But at the end of the day, you're just gathering in as many of those photons as you can. And, this is the only way that we know how to sort of enhance how you can see them. It's the same number of photons that are coming into the tube. You're just reducing them into a space to concentrate them into your eye or a computer sensor. There's a lot of technologies that are looking at abandoning this whole mirror approach altogether and just using these photometers, basically, just devices for measuring and detecting these photons over a really, really wide area. And rather than using an optical solution, just having these telescopes based on just catching all the photons and not missing any of them. At the moment, you can build a telescope. It doesn't have to be very big. Just from the photons you can capture from that, you can see pretty much close to the back to the Big Bang. I mean, that's what this is going to do. But if you lose all the physical limit restrictions of needing to create mirrors, you're going to be able to create insanely big telescopes that can see insanely far. So yeah, anyway, I think that's just totally awesome, and that's why, because I used to be heavily into this stuff, and trust me, it's all about the photons. Yes. Winged Star, you're going back to New Jersey tomorrow. LPL, I should know what LPL is. It looks like people, but it's I'm sorry, you're going back to New Jersey. I assume NJ is New Jersey, and are you in Japan, Winged Star? I'd be on a good trip if you were here. Benjamin Harris, good to have you along here. Bigger mirrors really only improve resolution in space rather than on the ground due to seeing effects. We only make huge telescopes to collect more light. Well, yes and no. Winged Star, yes, you're in Tokyo. Well, I'm glad that you're in Tokyo, and I'm sorry that you're going back to New Jersey. Some of my best friends are from New Jersey, and they're not even in the mafia, so congratulations. Have a good trip back. Come back again soon. And keep watching the show, because seriously, it's a nice way to stay in touch with what's going on here. Benjamin Harris. Yeah, of course, everything's going to look better in space when you're outside of the atmosphere. They're going to have adaptive, they have these crazy adaptive optics apparently for this big telescope, which is going to, they say pretty confidently, they think is going to compensate for the distorting effects of the atmosphere. And you can, I mean, a bigger telescope, I mean, just look at you use different size telescopes, you can see better with better telescopes. But yes, it still is, obviously once they can move these things into space, I think things are going to go nuts. But what is interesting, I think, is, you know, just where all this stuff is going, I think, you know, in the very near future, we're going to be able to see this crazy stuff. Hey, New Jersey's nice. Everyone be nice in New Jersey. They're not even Italian. I don't even understand that. Much disappoints, says Ahmed. Let's get back into it. We've got 5 minutes left. I can't believe I managed to talk given how few topics I took. I was in Saitama for work the other day. I took this photo on the way home. I took that photo on the flight back from Haneda. That was cool. Now, I used a filter or two, but I did not modify the clouds. These clouds were as they looked. I mean, it was red. It was a spectacular sunset. And I didn't even notice until I increased the clarity, the sharpness of the photo, that all these background clouds popped out. This was just crazy, the sunset. So I had to take this. Tokyo just has, especially this time of year in autumn, it just has the best sunsets. So there we go. Even in Saitama, they have good sunsets sometimes. Saitama, the New Jersey of Tokyo. So there you go. That was a good photo. I've got the original here somewhere, but it's on my other phone. But it came out really, really well anyway. Yeah, that surprised me how well it came out. I mean, it's edited, but still, it was awesome. Oh, this one I'll just pop across to as well. In fact, I was flying back from yeah, there we go. I was flying back from Hong Kong to Haneda the other week, and I looked out the window and I saw this, and I was like, okay, get a photo of that. That's a really nice photo there. And it looks like, some people commented later, it looks like Mount Fuji, which it does look like Mount Fuji, even though it's the wing of a 767 or Airbus or something. But it's a very nice photo. I love the colours of it. It's like the Pink Floyd album with the prism, Dark Side of the Moon. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. I watched, so let's go into the most densely populated wards in Tokyo, and this was surprising. People would expect that Shinjuku, very big, would be among the most densely populated. But it is not. It has a density of 18,620 people per square kilometer. Apparently because Shinjuku-gyoen, they've got these massive parks in Shinjuku, whereas Toshima, where Ikebukuro and so on is actually the most densely populated with 22,000 people per square kilometer. So if you like crowded areas, there you go. Live in Ikebukuro, Nakano, Nippori, Arakawa. I guess, yeah, the thing about Arakawa and Nakano is they don't really have it, or Toshima. Toshima has big parks actually, but Nakano, Arakawa, they don't really have big parks. I think you get into more greener and more rural areas. I mean, ironically, look at that Shibuya. Shibuya's got a big business district area. Nerima has actually a lot of farms and rural districts in that part. So it is interesting how the density goes down. And Chiyoda, the center of Tokyo, where the emperor lives, I mean, that's probably why. It's because the emperor lives there and the rest is all sort of business district. It's got a very low density. Got some of the best daycare down there as well. Elswich, thank you for recognizing. So yeah, it's kind of funny. I thought this is just an interesting list of all the 23 wards of Tokyo and the population density. That is an interesting fact. I watched this on Netflix. Know Your Enemy, Japan. It's a 1945 produced propaganda movie for preparing America for the long fight against Japan. It was actually set after VE Day and was released on the day of the A bombing, which made it really no longer necessary at that point. It's a 1 hour 2 minute documentary. I read it. I found it really, really interesting. I found it's naturally, I mean, it made me recognize a lot of the attitudes that I grew up hearing and from the elderly generation. I mean, remember when I was a kid, the elderly people, my grandparents' generation, were people who were alive, some fought during World War II against Japan. And this was how I was introduced to Japanese culture, through the views that are expressed in this movie. It's interesting to watch. It's kind of I found some of it, you know, I mean, yes, Japan did some terrible shit, and of course they bring all of that up, and rightly so, but at the same time, while trying to explain, you know, why you're fighting against the Japanese is just, some of the justifications that they bring up, like Japanese believe that they are a superior race to everybody else, and all these ideas about Japan being based on racial ideology. Remember, this documentary was made in America in 1945. America was in no place to be boasting about, you know, racial enlightenment. It wasn't, but you know, I guess it's always easier to be reflective on behalf of somebody else than it is yourself. And let's face it, it's a war, right? I mean, they're not going to break out. This isn't the movie where they break out, you know, all the hypocrisy and so, you know, shortcomings of America or the Western world, you know. But it is a view of the time which, while being really entirely propaganda and really being for, you know, building people up for fighting the Japanese, and apparently reading the Wikipedia page on this as well afterwards, it turns out, you know, it was actually had to be toned down. It was a lot more racist in the beginning, including there's actually a really interesting thing that they put on the front where they mention the gallantry of the Japanese battalions who fought in Europe during World War II, and that this is not aimed at ethnic Japanese in America, it's aimed at Japanese in Japan and how to understand them. But, you know, it's this problem. They're trying to whip up nationalism and racism against the Japanese while also trying to temper it at the same time. And it's kind of interesting how they went about this in 1945. It was interesting to watch. It's on Netflix. They allow you to watch propaganda and arguably racist, sort of hate-driving propaganda that are there to motivate you to kill them. So it's interesting from that perspective. It's interesting that they don't allow the similar sort of propaganda the other way around or from other countries, although I think at this point it would be interesting to watch. But there we go. I found it was an interesting watch. And I suppose it's good for understanding the context of the time, and it reminded me of a lot of the views and opinions I've heard from people in New Zealand and Australia from an older generation who were around at the time that this was released. So I found that interesting. What else we got here? Mascots getting stuck in things. This is actually the most important post this week. So here's a ad tip to the head of the Washington Post, Tokyo Bureau. Oh, I've brain frozen. Oh my god. She's awesome. She's a Kiwi. She's the head of the Washington Post in Tokyo, and her name, I've just completely lost my mind for a second there. And she's really cool. Oh god. Now this is gonna drive me nuts. Hang on a second. I know it's gonna be here. I know I'm just gonna Anna Fifield. Anna Fifield, how can I think? I'm losing my mind. Anna Fifield is awesome. She posted this in the middle of the Trump visit, because I don't want to talk about the Trump visit. She posted this, and to me this is what I needed to see the most. Japanese mascots getting stuck in things. And I think we should watch this and we should think that in the future, you know, this is exactly what we're going to have to deal with, because humans are going to eventually become like this, and these are the sorts of problems that we're going to have to adapt to day to day. Oh, 49 stars, pretty cool. I wish I could read that properly, but anyway, to the edge of the world. I can read it, I know what it means. Did I hear about the crack hack attack? I have not heard about the crack hack attack, although it sounds unpleasant. So anyway, look again at these cute anime characters getting stuck in things. Have I seen the latest Dogen short about election rallies in Japan? I saw him doing the Japanese of Japanese rallies and how they speak and so on. But yes, Dogen's a great guy, by the way. I remember when he first popped up on YouTube, because I'm a YouTube old timer. That's extremely disturbing. This is what humanity is going to become, and what we're going to have to deal with. And it's scary. It scares me, frankly. How do I get back to that page where I was at before? Oh crap. How do I get back? Oh god. Okay, give me a sec. Let me try to fix this. Boom, boom, boom. Reboot, finish. Well, time is up. We've got through the hour when I really had no topics this week, so that's just amazing to me. Do you want to hear some tunes? I kind of had a tune I was trying to set up, and it really didn't go anywhere. It didn't really get set up, but I can show you what I'm working on, and that'll be the outro. Oh, and there it is. Just to finish up, so mascot stuck in things. NHK is going to start charging the broadcast fee even to people without TVs based on the internet, apparently, even though they don't put all their stuff on the internet. If they put all their stuff on the internet and they just make it a tax, fine, I don't care, but the broadcast fee is a pain. Warm biz. Japanese love cool biz, where they turn the thermostats up to 28 degrees in summer and make you sweat and suffer in the heat of Japanese offices. And then you get into winter and they have cool biz, where they're supposed to set the thermostats low and rug up, but no, they just set the thermostat they leave it at 28, and they remain hot and tropical in the offices during winter, and it drives me crazy because I can't work when it's that hot. Japanese just like to be hot. It's just an excuse for cool biz in summer. Warm biz, nobody does it. But if you want to save power and save the climate and everything, warm biz is a government-sponsored initiative that started this week, where people will turn down their thermostats so that they won't overuse heaters. But Japanese just, homie, don't play that. They don't go for that. And what can you do? And finally, yes, the rugby stadium, the Nissan Yokohama International Stadium, was used to host Japan versus Australia on the weekend. Japan lost 63-30. Stuff happens. It was probably expected. However, people going there checking out, knowing that this will be the stadium where they will play the 2019 World Cup final, they found one. It's got a running track around it. It's a multi-purpose stadium. It's too far away to really watch rugby, to be able to see anything. You'll need binoculars. Which is kind of ridiculous, even though it fits the requisite number of people. The other thing was that they run out of beer after apparently like 20 minutes. Some people were complaining. Some said they could still get some in the second half. But basically the New Zealand Herald looked at this and just said, dudes, you cannot have rugby in a stadium and run out of beer in 20 minutes. And I wish this is the first time that this had happened, but this has happened in every major international match I've ever seen in Tokyo. The queues, they just don't know how to run a big event. And you hope that they'll be taking notes and learning, and they're not. Hopefully they'll get it figured out by 2019. They've still got 2 years. But yeah, they're getting some tough feedback, which they need. So there we go. That is the show. I'm going to play some music, just because although the hour is up, I like to play some music. And I hope you enjoyed it. While I'm setting up, you can of course feel free. Now wait a minute, where is my adapter thingy? There it is. While I'm setting up, you can feel free to ask me questions, give any more topics or whatever you'd like me to discuss while I set up. Remember, if you do the orange thing, if you say @Hiko-Simon, I will notice. It's actually a good trick. Thank you for discovering that, Ty. Those mascots are having a terrible day, Ellswich. Whoops. That's more noise than I meant to make. Okay, let's plug this in. Let's go to K-Oscillator. Let's turn on the sound. And I guess I'm just going to jam on what I've been jamming with. It's kind of, I'm not that sure. In fact, let's do this. Tell me which one you want me to make next. I've set up a new track, but I'm not sure I want to do that one. So the tracks that I haven't made yet from the loops that I've made are these ones. Okay, so I made that one. I haven't made this one yet. Bit of a happy tune. I don't know, I like this one that much, but if you like this one, this is choice number 1. Here's choice number 2. I made this one the other day, so that's okay, skip this one. This is kind of cool. Kind of funky. This is choice number 2. Choice number 1 and 4, or choice number 2, 952, 954. Choice number 3, I think there's 4 choices here. Kind of video gamey. I can imagine this is like a kind of a role-playing game level background music or something. It's kind of cool. This is choice number 3. This is what I'm working on right now instead of a drum and bassy track. Although I messed with it and now it doesn't sound so good. And final choice. So that's 5. 1, 2, 3, or 5. Which ones do we like? I see a vote for 1 and a vote for 2. Which one do you like the best? And I will jam and mix on that one. Oh, you like that one? Oh, although Phil Nolan, given the lag, it could be wrong. 1 and 5. We got votes for 2 votes for 1, 1 for 5. A couple of votes there for 1. Okay, oh, we've got a bit of a contest. We've got 3 for 1, 2 for 2. I'll give a couple more votes there. 1 or 5, 1, 1. Okay, we're getting a lot of votes there for 1. We do need a poll. I should have thought of this in advance. Oh well. Let's do 1. Okay, that was unexpected. Well, so I'm just going to jam on the loop. Normally I make 16 of these and I'll string them together, but let's see where this goes. I'd flip out of the loop from there, but yeah, that's kind of tough. show. That's the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Join me next week here every week, 10:30 p.m. 10:30 p.m. JST every Sunday night. This is Tokyo Tonight 2. Enjoy and see you again next week. Don't forget, follow me on Twitter. Look out for the announcements about the Big in Japan documentary coming out December 3rd, the party associated with that for the release in Tokyo. Look out for the app information. I would love for all of you guys to sign up and become beta users and give me feedback on how to go about launching. There's also a map that I have the prototype all made. I'm going to make a really cool beta of it hopefully in a couple of weeks. And keep cool till after school. You want to keep up with the news, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, keep in touch, and great to see you again, and see you next week. Boom. Peace. Have a good weekend. Hey Odie Jr., good to see you. Have a good weekend. It's already over, I guess, but you know. Elsewich, always a pleasure. And Wingstar, safe trip back to New Jersey, and please keep watching and keep in touch. Have a good weekend.